Happy Tuesday, everyone. Hi, Liam, Random Gamers, Wesley, Alessandro. How you doing? How's everybody doing on this fine week before Christmas? Alessandro Malinvero says the BBC has a major establishment bias. No kidding, they have a major establishment bias. Yeah, to answer your question, Alessandro, I think it was you that asked it. Media in Britain is owned by corporations. If I'm correct, Murdoch owns The Sun. I do have a little statistic. I might have to search for it, but I'll find it for you. Let's try and find it. Oh, Gordon Dimmack's live. I've just got a notification that Gordon Dimmack's live. I like that guy. Bit too handsome for my liking there. Oh no, I can't find it. I can't find it, Alessandro. I was going to... I can't find it. That's a bummer. The overwhelming amount of print news in the UK, I think it's something like 5 companies. If I get these statistics off by a bit, I apologise, but it's 5 companies own 86% of the national newspapers and 4 companies own 72% of the local newspapers. Give you some idea as to how much of a monopoly they've got on the news. Wherever you go, it's the same voice speaking to you. It's the same opinion. Notice how mainstream media has been shutting down yellow vest protests, says Wesley Codial. I'm going to touch on that today. I haven't got a big thing to talk about today on the yellow vest. I just want to touch about it because there was some news just before I came on air that's to do with the yellow vest protests that are going on in several countries around the world now, just as I said it would. What's in the news today? There is only one story in the news today, Wesley. And there's only one story in the news today for the last week, as far as I'm concerned, or one major one anyway, and it ain't Brexit. I just finished watching Dennis Skinner called David Cameron Dodgy Dave again, says Frank. Dodgy Dave. I like twat better, but I suppose he can't say that in the House of Commons, can he? Putin did it! Putin did it, says Keith. Whatever the accusation is, Putin did it. I did a video earlier. I just want to quickly make this comment. I did a video earlier on Sargon. Well, it was on Patreon, but I mentioned Sargon of Akkad and how they've banned him from the platform over a word he said, and just took it totally out of context. What he was saying wasn't racist. It was actually pointing out how other people are racist and acting like the very people that they demonize. And he got booted off. It was hilarious watching the comments to that video underneath, because you've got people on the left who are saying, F that guy, I can't believe Gordon, how can you say that? Sargon of Akkad is a far-right lunatic, blah, 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 and he's not. And then people on the right were coming to the channel and saying, yeah, well done, Gord. I don't agree with you, anything you say, but well done on that. It's like, you've got people on the left trying to shut down free speech. That's a bad idea. It's a really bad idea. But they can't see further than the end of their nose, unfortunately. Cameron's not a pig molester, Duncan. That was bullshit. Cameron's not a pig molester. It's a nice thought, but it's total bullshit, that was. They're talking about the same subject on the Jimmy Dore show, Gordon says Deep Thoughts. I suppose that's Patreon. I know he's dropped a few videos, I haven't seen them yet. But I assume you're talking about Patreon, because it's huge. It really is, it's huge. Once they start deplatforming people like that, forget it. They're going to come after people like me. It's going to happen. If I say something but I cover Israel and Palestine all the time, that is going to be turned around on me. You know it is. You know that they're going to use it in the future to ban channels like mine, and you've got people on the left going, yes! Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense at all. What's your opinion of Scottish independence, says Zeolek 2000? I don't know the history of it, Zeolek. And I think you've got to know the history behind these things before you make a judgment. If I remember right, Scotland rejoined or joined Great Britain or rejoined Great Britain. I don't know how the story goes, but if I remember right, they did it because they broke their economy, and they owed a shitload of money, and that's why they came back in to Britain, or came into Britain or the UK. I suppose it was Britain back then, because the UK wasn't until 1920 something, but. I would have to look at the history, and that's the truth. I haven't really got an opinion on it because I don't know the history. It's very easy to jump to knee-jerk reactions, but I think you've got to know the ins and outs of it before you make a decision on things. I know that's a bit of a non-answer, but I don't know enough about the history between England and Scotland and how Scotland came to be, part of Great Britain. I knew we hated each other for centuries. Some say we still do. Keith Duran says, it is how YouTube did it. They're attacking your next economic model. Exactly. That is as I said in the video. They come after the revenue stream first of all, and they come after right wingers first of all. This is a pattern. They go after the revenue of right wingers, and then once they've got that, and the people on the left have gone, yay, we hate Milo Yiannopoulos. Yes, we hate Sargon of Akkad. And then after they've done that, then they've got carte blanche to do it to everybody across the spectrum, and it's always the left that are suppressed the most when you actually look back in history. It's the right to start off with, and then it's the left that gets swept up. Look back in history, for Christ's sake. There's so much information out there now for people to get the facts, and they must be in an echo chamber and only hearing opinions that reinforces a pre-held belief. That's the only thing I can put it down to. Either that or 90% of the planet is stupid and that 90-10 rule is correct. Oh, put my coffee all the way over there so I don't spill it today. The Random Gamer says, apparently May's 20 votes away from sealing her deal. I do not believe that. Yeah, I do not believe that either. I think, to be honest, May's 127. She's more like 120 votes away than 20. I mean, if you just include the 117 that gave no confidence in her deal, which is essentially what they did, it's more like 120. It's not 20. It must be the BBC that are saying that. You know what they're like. Duncan McKeown says the Scots lost a lot of money in a Central American colony. I didn't know that. Didn't know it. Duncan, like I say, I will. I'll look into it and I'll form an opinion of it at some stage. I mean, I haven't formed an opinion on Ireland because I don't know the history. You've got to know all the history behind it. And as to whose side I sympathise with, I don't know all the history, so I can't say. I think that's not me trying to avoid the question or avoid anything. It's just honestly, I think if I make a statement on those things now, I'm going to end up looking foolish because I don't necessarily know the whole backstory. I do want to, while I'm here, there is a couple of stories in the news at the moment that I just want to quickly touch on. I'll probably do a longer video about some of these subjects tomorrow. I know I've got 2 videos dropping tomorrow. One's on, the government have done something today with regards to green energy. And when I drop that video tomorrow, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe what they've done. With regards to, solar power and people getting solar power at the home. It's sick, is what it is. And I've got another video on, the Canary did a really good article on the war on drugs today that I want to cover tomorrow. So I've got those 2 videos dropping, and I'll probably do videos of these tomorrow as well, because this is a story that's at the moment massive in America, because Flynn is going to be sentenced. Now, what Flynn did was lied to the FBI. That is essentially what I can see him being. You know, I haven't followed it 100%. It's just been in the periphery of my mind. But essentially, he's lying to the FBI because he was trying to secure something that benefited Israel. That's essentially what he's being charged with and what he's going to be censored. So he's lied to the FBI because he was pushing a policy that benefited Israel, something to do with Turkey. That's what it is. This article by Politico that I was reading just before I came on air, look at that, you probably actually can't see it. Let me just see there, it says 1 of 9 matches. See, 1 of 9 matches. I did a quick search. Russia appears in that article, the word Russia, 9 times. Israel, 0. What does that tell you about the mainstream media and how they're covering this? I mean, that's Politico. That's the political paper of note, if you like, in America, although it's a load of shit as far as I'm concerned, but it's Politico. Didn't mention Israel once in their article. 9 times they mentioned Russia. I'll delve into that more tomorrow and do a more in-depth video on it, but Putin did it. You know, well, that's what they're going to spin this. I think it's been I think the last I heard it's been adjourned, so he's not going to be sentenced today, but he's going to be sentenced soon. Mick Hill says, brilliant piece on the Integrative Initiative, Gordon, thank you. Shared it widely, thank you even more. I hope Chris Williamson can get Corbyn into it in Parliament. Yeah, me too. That's a good segue actually, because I want to talk a little bit about that right now. Where are we? No, it's not that. It's not that. Hey, here you go. And there's that. Right. Hi everyone, I'm not going to apologise for talking about this story. I know I've talked about it a lot. I think I've done 2 or 3 videos on it so far, and this is the 3rd or 4th one in just a few days. But this is bigger than Brexit. It really is. It's bigger than Brexit. And for those of you who don't know the whole story, I'm just going to, or the start of the story, I'll just give you a little reminder of what it is. And Chris Williamson, the MP for Derby, Labour MP for Derby, did a little video the other day on it, and it really does outline what the problem is. And, well, let Chris tell you.
Last week I received a response to a parliamentary question I'd tabled asking the government if the Integrity Initiative, a so-called think tank dealing in disinformation, had received government funding. The response was stunning. I was met with the admission that in the last 18 months or so, some £2.2 million has been awarded by the Foreign Office to this organisation. Staffed by former security and military personnel, its agenda seems to include the denigration of the Labour Party and Jeremy Corbyn. Their approach is to connect media with academia and politicians to influence policy in certain countries. Leaked documents revealed numerous examples, such as Pedro Baños, an Army Reserve colonel and author who the Spanish Socialist Party wanted to make the country's Director of National Security.
So just think about that. What are they saying that Russia's guilty of right now? What's Russia guilty of? Russia's guilty of meddling in elections, meddling in the affairs of other countries' democracies. What the fucking hell do you think this is then? This is exactly the same thing. In fact, this is worse because it worked and that guy didn't get the job.
That was before the Integrity Initiative's Spanish cluster got involved, putting a stop to the appointment altogether. That's right, a Foreign Office funded British think tank stopped the appointment of a public official in a fellow European democracy. And these are the people defending freedom.
So in other words, we are doing exactly what we're accusing Russia of doing, only we're doing it well.
Now it seems similar tricks are being played here at home. Ben Nemo, a core member of the Integrity Initiative's
also the core member of DFR Labs, Digital Forensic and Research Labs, who really are not that good at spotting Russian bots, as I've mentioned many times. And also a subsidiary of the Atlantic Council, which is also funded by, amongst others, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office of the UK and the United States military and NATO and all the other bad people who you could possibly imagine would be funding them. So Ben Nemo is connected to them all.
UK cluster was even quoted in the Sun newspaper saying Russia was supporting Corbyn against his opponents both in the Labour Party and outside it. The newspaper used this to support its assertion, which had no other evidence, that a twisted Russian cyber campaign which has backed Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn is aiming to sow division across the UK.
Now, let me just highlight that one sentence. A twisted Russian cyber campaign which has backed Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn is aiming to sow division across the UK, experts have warned. That's Ben Nemo who wrote that, who's being funded from two different places via the Foreign and Commonwealth Office of the United Kingdom. This is why it's bigger than Brexit.
How many other stories like this have been entirely fabricated, and with government funding too? Well, we don't know, because after I submitted a follow-up question, Minister of State Alan Duncan refused to provide any further information, claiming it could disrupt and undermine the programme's effectiveness.
In other words, uh-oh, shit! They found out about us.
Effectiveness at what? Interfering in the politics of other countries while undermining the leader of Britain's opposition? Because that's precisely what it's doing. That's why I'm calling for a public inquiry into the Integrity Initiative and similar information war efforts being funded by our government. Their approach of silencing and suppressing aspects of public debate doesn't strengthen democracy, it debases it.
So, Chris Williamson has been shouting about this, and he's not the only one. I've personally seen 4 Labour MPs, including Jeremy Corbyn, asking about this in the Houses of Parliament, and I don't watch that much, so the chances are there are going to be a dozen who are asking this question in the Houses of Parliament on the Labour side. They are all asking it. The media are not covering this at all. The BBC have written one article which literally looks like it came from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. It was literally just the Commonwealth and the FCO statement on the matter. And the other outlets out there, The Guardian, for instance, obviously The Guardian are implicated in this massively, as I'll point out in a second. We already know that Carol Codswallder and James Ball have been speaking at Integrity Initiative funded events. Obviously, they're defending the Integrity Initiative rather than do what any journalist really worth their salt in this country, which is chasing the hell out of it, trying to expose the corruption. That's what they should be doing, and they're not. They're actually covering it up. What does that tell you about what side they're on here? The media. What does that tell you about whether the media are actually the fourth estate, holding the powerful to task? What does it tell you about them? Does it tell you that they're the fourth estate? Or really, no, they've turned into the fifth column? I think you'll agree it's the latter. Now, I mentioned The Guardian. Another Guardian writer was linked to the Integrity Initiative, I found out. I actually found this out before I did my stream yesterday and forgot all about it. I said it will come to no surprise to you that his latest article in GCHQ's propaganda rag, i.e. The Guardian, which is what I call it now, is a hit piece on Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah, it was a hit piece on Jeremy Corbyn, and his name is Nick Cohen, whom I'm sure many of you will know. I did a search for Nick Cohen and looked at all the articles that he's written this year, and I would say 90% of the articles he's written so far, certainly in The Guardian, he writes for several places, but certainly in The Guardian, 90% of what he's written is either anti-Corbyn or it's anti-Brexit. One of the two. I'll let you draw your own conclusions from that. But Labour Left Voice said here, Nick Cohen, who brazenly attended the Tory and Foreign Office funded and disgraced Integrity Initiative conference, he was there with Carol Cadwallader and James Ball, as one of their negative news specialists. Negative news specialist is what he is. It gets worse. This is a great article by Craig Murray that I missed actually when it was published on the 13th. Naughty. I just want to read you this last bit here of the article. When I drop this video, I'll leave a link underneath so you can go and read it. He's great, Craig Murray is. He said this. The mainstream media have tracked down the headquarters of the Institute for Statecraft. This is the parent company for the Integrity Initiative, to a derelict mill near Okhtymukty. I spoke about that yesterday. It is owned by one of the company directors, Daniel Lafayette, formerly of D Squadron, 23rd SAS Regiment, and later of Military Intelligence, and incidentally was born the rather more prosaic Daniel Edney. By sleuthing the company records of this Scottish charity, which is what they're saying it is, and a couple of phone calls, I discovered that the actual location of the Institute for Statecraft is the basement of 2 Temple Place, London. This is not just any basement. It is the basement of the former London mansion of William Waldorf Astor, an astonishing building. It is, in short, possibly the most expensive basement in London, which is interesting because the accounts of the Institute for Statecraft claim it has no permanent staff and show nothing for rent, utilities or office expenses. In fact, I understand the rent is paid by the Ministry of Defence. Like I say, I'll leave an article that under the video when I drop it. Here it is. It's 2 Temple Place. It's just off their website. They've even got a nice little donate button up there in the top right hand corner. Not obviously content with taking the public's money from via the Foreign Office in underhand operations to actually, spread disinformation amongst their own people. They're actually asking their own people to donate to the cause as well. Just look at it. This is majestic. And the Ministry of Defence are paying the rent for that basement place. I mean, they say it's a basement. It's not going to look like a cave. This is the biggest story right now. It's bigger than Brexit, as I keep saying. And the thing that really annoys me about all this is it is all coming through the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, or the Ministry of Defence, if you like. Defence. The MOD, you're meant to defend us, and that's it. You're meant to defend us. Defend your people. The clue is in the name, Ministry of Defence. You're meant to defend us. Not try and influence us to believing your absolute bullshit and actually charging us for doing it. There you go. Gordon Dimmack, did you know that Cadwallader and Eel Ball, I suppose that is, are also linked to Russian oligarch and dodgy HSBC money? I had heard rumours. You need to look into the 430s project, says Joe. Oh well. Never heard of that, Joe. Corbyn has to clean out the city, Lawrence. I tell you, it says Lawrence. Lawrence, I tell you, him, if he does become Prime Minister, that's when the hard work starts. It'll be a mission to get to that stage. The pushback he's going to have. It's going to be the likes we've never seen. It's going to be the likes we've never seen. Somebody mentioned yellow vests earlier, didn't they? Yeah, the yellow vest protests. This is another one I'm going to do a video of. I'll do a video of it probably tomorrow. Once I've curated all the different clips and everything I need to do because it's complicated and I want to get it right. But this is what it all started from. They say that it was fuel tax, and it was. That was the sort of the spark that ignited the protests in France. But this is what it all came down to. Just look, winners and losers from France's 2018 to 19 budget. Now this is very similar to the last. Since this is basically since Macron has come in. Look at that. The richest 1% get all the money again. That should be the other direction. These motherfuckers are the ones that broke the economy, and then we had to pay for it. Those motherfuckers should be paying back the money that they got. By the way, the public money they got. Not having all... I mean, this happened under Obama. It happened under Cameron. For 10 years, this is what's been happening. All the money, Obama and Cameron oversaw the largest transfer of wealth to the 1% in history. In history. And one of them, people say, was the best president ever. Oh, bring back Obama. You had to kill this, for fuck's sake. So you can see there, so from 80% through to 99, they're actually, it's costing them money. But again, the poorest people, fuck them. This is neoliberal philosophy. Fuck the poor people. Fuck them. Nudge them into better behaviours, as Mark Blythe says. Nudge them into better behaviours. You can have your schools, but we're not going to pay for them either. We'll have our own private schools. We don't want to pay for your education. We don't want you being educated and find out all the shit that we're up to, do you? So this is what started it all. And this is similar to the UK. The way the UK, over the last 10 years, the way the UK's tax changes have happened. It's all going to the 1%. They're seeing all of the gains. And it's the same around the world in all neoliberal governments. So that's what started the Yellow Vest protests. And I remember I said at the time, I wasn't the only one, I think most of you in the chat room said it. This was going to spread to other countries. It's not going to be in France. And before the weekend came, it had spread to Belgium and Holland, and now it's gone as far as Canada. As I say, protests spilled over into Belgium. That was on the 10th of December. And then today, boop, Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel resigns over migration spat. He had a vote of no confidence and lost it and resigned, I believe. This is going to happen in more and more countries around the world until the establishment actually wake up and realise, hold on a minute, if we don't do something here and we don't relinquish what we've been hoarding, if we don't relinquish that, we're going to lose it all. Because if you make peaceful revolution impossible, violent revolution is inevitable. I think it was JFK who said that. Motherfuckers just demonetized this live stream. Donate or join. Absolutely. I don't know whether they have demonetized it. To be honest, I don't even think about it anymore. They demonetize it, or there's no rhyme or reason to what they do. There's just no rhyme or reason. I did a video the other week. I did 2 videos back to back. The one was on Tulsi Gabbard. Well, he said basically Tulsi Gabbard is going to run for president in 2020. And the other one was on Yemen. They were back to back. I'm sure I recorded them back to back. The one on Yemen was monetized, which I thought, wow, that's the first ever video on Yemen that's monetized. The one on Tulsi Gabbard, I said she's going to run for president in 2020. That was demonetized. Hit 1,000 views. I protested it. I asked them to review it, and they confirmed it via manual review. Why? I don't know. Oh, Oz Whistles. Oh, Oz missiles, just, if you don't like migration, stop bombing. Stop bombing and stop, crippling your neighbouring countries with decades worth of the war on drugs. Maybe then migration will stop. No notification for this stream either, Gordon Dimmack says Trev Ken. Great. Great. Titch Omar, I'm already a patron, have been for a while, screw YouTube. Thank you, Titch. Thank you to everybody who does. I've got 10,000 subscribers. If just 1 in 5 subscribers, if just 1 in 5 donates $1 a month, $1. $1. If 1 in 5 people were to donate $1 a month, I wouldn't have to worry about money. And I've got a pretty shit few weeks coming up. Really have. But yeah, I wouldn't have to worry about it, and I could concentrate on doing this, full time, and not have the, oh shit, I've got to pay this bill, I've got to pay that bill at the back of my head. Just 1 in 5, that's, But I realise it's tough. It's tough. Shimu Skiing says, YouTube is known by the people, though. You know where this is going. They sell audiences to advertisers. It's the same model as newspapers. Surely they can ban who they want. That's the thing, Shimisking. That's what we're saying. YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, these things are so big now and are so intertwined with the fabric of modern day life that they're not actually private companies. What they are is utilities. And they should be regulated as such. And if they want to ban people, fine, ban people, but at least have some sort of process that is transparent, that we can see what is allowed and what isn't allowed. And more importantly, this is the thing, enforce the rules unilaterally and have consistency. Don't ban one person for saying one thing and then say, no, he's all right for saying something exactly the same. Don't ban people for threats of violence on Twitter if you've got the President of the United fucking States doing it. Because if you're going to ban one, you've got to ban the other. This is what... I understand you saying that the private companies that can do what they want, yada, 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 but they're not. They're too big now. They should have never been allowed to get this big. Never. But Facebook shouldn't be able to buy things like Snapchat and all that other bullshit and Instagram. That's a monopoly. There are rules in place to stop that happening, and they just fucking ignore them. Sound like I'm on a bit of a rant then. Do I have a job besides this, says Astro? No, this is my job, mate. This is my job. To give you some idea, I've every single month this year I have survived on less than $1,000. Every single month. Since I started this in February, I've survived on less than $1,000 a month. Somehow. I've got a great family, I think. Thomas Rittenhouse, I joined last month. Thank you, mate. Just $5 a month, but I love your work. Jimmy Dawn, Lee Camp, on Redacted Tonight. Yeah, Lee Camp's brilliant. He's very funny as well. I think he's a really underrated comedian. But yeah, I mean, I can't go on forever like this, and I know it's not going to be forever, and it is increasing bit by bit, week by week, but it's fucking tough. It really is. Thank you, Trev Ken. I appreciate that. Thumbs up. Yeah, deep thought. What I've noticed about YouTube is if you report someone for trolling and even threatening behaviour, they do nothing. Their reporting system is a complete joke. It is, and it's the same for Twitter. It's the same for Facebook. And not only that, not only is their reporting system a complete fucking joke, but their system to appeal is a complete joke as well. Facebook have got an appeal system that I have it on good authority from people who've worked at Facebook. If you get a temporary ban on Facebook, like a 1 week, 1 month ban for doing something, usually it's doing something fucking nothing. It's doing nothing. It's just sharing something that Facebook, the algorithm, flags as spam or whatever it is. You get a 2 week notice, 2 week ban. You appeal it. I've spoken to people from YouTube. I've spoken to people from YouTube who said that appeal form on Facebook, nobody ever touches them. Nobody touches them. You appeal on Facebook, it literally goes nowhere. I've had 2 people on Facebook, former Facebook employees, saying that exact thing. That's the appeal process on Facebook. Thank you, MT Unit. I appreciate that, mate. Thank you. I don't want to come across as I'm begging. I don't want that, and it's fucking hard. You know, because obviously people's lives are tough. I understand that, but it's hard to keep doing what you're doing on a daily. You guys know if you're struggling, when you've got that in the back of your mind, you're not going to produce your best work. And anyway, I don't want to carry on talking about it. Yeah, I know, Thomas. You know, less than 1,000 a month. I'm in good company. You're probably majority of the audience are in the same boat. I just have to, you know, grit my teeth and get through the next few months. If I can get through the next few months and I can get over, you know, like I say, if I can get to $2,000, which is not even our average wage, I don't have to worry about debt. And that's a huge thing. Wild Goose 59, don't worry, Gordon. God willing and weather permitting, we'll have a revolution. I'll be there with my yellow vest on when it happens, mate. Thank you for all the nice work, the nice words, everyone. All right, let's get to this next story, because this next story. This is so bad it's funny. And I tell you, I know some of you are going to be thinking, I know what this story is. I remember this the other day on the BBC. No, it's not that one. Try and connect with the Last American Vagabond and Corbett Report. Do some interviews. It'll help, but I'll Patreon you while you can. Still can. I spoke to Lee Stranahan yesterday. I'm going to try and get him on the show after Christmas. He's agreed. And I'm going to start doing interviews. I've never done an interview, so I don't know. I don't know whether I'll be getting any good at it. I've had Jamal Thomas on the channel once for a video. What does my hair look like? I'm wearing a helmet. But that's it. But me and Jamal just get on great anyway. So I mean, we're just like 2 guys having a chat. I'll give it some thought as to whether that's the sort of format I want to go down. But I do want to start getting into getting people and interviewing them and reaching out to them. So I'll do that more after Christmas. Thank you, Deep Thought. Love your work. Keep fighting your sides. I really appreciate it. I appreciate that, Deep Thought. Thank you. Yeah, Mastro. So I will. I'll the Corbett Report. I was watching one of his videos earlier. The Last American Vagabond I've never seen, so I don't know. Craig Murray had hundreds of pages disappeared on Facebook, says Duncan McKeown. Yes, I know, and they did that on purpose because, if I remember right, 80% of Craig Murray's traffic came from Facebook up until that point. Thomas Rittenhouse says, I would love to see yellow vest movement in the States. Thomas Rittenhouse. I've got a feeling you're going to get a Christmas wish very soon. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. I don't know why my hair looks like a bloody stormtrooper. Anyway. Hi everyone. So an article appeared in the BBC last week, and I read it. I think I read it because I was on Twitter and I saw it tweeted out. So I read it within a few minutes of it actually coming out. But by the time I'd finished reading it, I'd had 3 emails from subscribers saying, "Oh my God, Gordon, look at this," because the BBC, in their anti-Putin, anti-Russia, Russophobic nightmare that they are punishing us with, wrote this article. Enjoy. How Putin's Russia turned humour into a weapon. Oh my God, these Russians, they're going to make us laugh to death. Is that what they're trying to say? Can't quite see that, can you? I'll read it anyway. In the dying days of the Soviet Union, Russians used humour to escape the bleak reality of economic stagnation, food shortages, and long queues. Well, it's not just the Russians. I mean, the British did that in World War II. British used humour as a defence mechanism, if you remember, to actually get by during hard times. Do you think that's the angle that the BBC article is going to take? Think again. Political satire flourished in TV in the form of latex puppets during the 1990s, but it was quickly slapped down when Vladimir Putin came to power. In today's Russia, where the media is largely controlled by the Kremlin and its allies, there is little room for genuine political humour unless it is used to deflect the blame from the government. How Russia turns criticism into a joke. Now we get into what they're trying to say in this article. Humour and ridicule were a key part of Moscow's response when the UK said it was, quote, highly likely that Russia was behind the poisoning of a former spy, Sergei Skripal, and his daughter Yulia in Salisbury. Yes, I remember making quite a few jokes about it myself. Do you know why? Because what you were saying happened was fucking preposterous, and nobody with a brain in their head believed it. It wasn't just Russia who were laughing at you, it was the entire fucking Western world. Russian officials and media figures have since tried to turn the English phrase, highly likely, into a mocking catchphrase that implies Russia is being blamed for everything with the flimsiest of evidence. Yeah, and that's the case. They are gaslighting people here. But that's the case, and they're trying to say, no, it's not the case. They're using it they're weaponizing it against you. It's fucking, this is akin to the Brexit threat to sandwiches article I wrote earlier this year. They have enlisted a range of popular figures from English literature, such as Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot and Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes, to ridicule British allegations of Russian involvement in the poisoning, which they denounce as unfounded. The bastards! They've turned Poirot and Sherlock Holmes against us. Fucking Ruskies. You see there, one of the tweets the Russian embassy sent out. In absence of evidence, we definitely need Poirot in Salisbury. This is weaponised, according to the BBC. Joking about preposterous claims is weaponised. Roman Dobrokotov, Roman, whose investigative website, The Insider, was involved in exposing one of the two poisoning suspects, Anatoly Chepiga, says such mockery is a form of trolling designed to, quote, deliberately lower the level of discussion. Really? Or is it just people laughing at a preposterous fucking statement or 10 that have come from the BBC? I'll get into them in a bit. I'm not done on this by a long sight. They cannot respond to in serious fashion and to the point, so they start to play act. You don't respond in a serious fashion to ridiculous accusations. You don't. If somebody levels a ridiculous fucking accusation at you, it is your duty to respond in a ridiculous and derisory way. But this is weaponising it. Along with conspiracy theories and misleading narratives, he argues, this kind of tactic aims to sow doubt. I wonder if I wonder if Roman is attached to, Integrity Initiative or anything to do with the Atlantic Council. I wonder if he's got funded from them. The result is that many will watch TV and decide there is no way of really getting to the bottom of what happened. If only there was something, I don't know, if only they had an internet in Russia. And they've got the TV and they've got the internet, In other words, he says no one is a saint, truth does not exist. Internet audiences are also a key target for this technique. Oh, right, they're doing it for the internet as well. The BBC have covered all bases then. One social media hashtag, hashtag I am from GRU too. I think I tweeted out that hashtag earlier this year because it was so funny. Appeared to be inspired by the Me Too movement. I actually tweeted it out when they were saying that Guccifer 2.0 is a GRU officer, which is just preposterous. Even Guccifer, the Romanian hacker, doesn't think Guccifer 2.0 is Russian. Even the original Guccifer thinks Guccifer 2.0 is a American psyop. Appeared to be inspired by the hashtag MeToo movement. Pro-Kremlin Twitter users mocked UK allegations against Russia's GRU, now GU, military intelligence agency. One spoof job advert joked that the GRU was, quote, looking for employees while its cyber attack department, chemical weapons department and election meddling unit. There is no need to apply, we will find you ourselves. Ben Nimmo, who I've spoke about quite a bit. You know him from the Integrity Initiative and DFR Labs, Atlantic Council, and the smear pieces written on Corbyn, and the smear pieces he's written on activists who are just anti-war and pro-peace online, outing them as Russian bots. Ben Nimmo, so this is who they go to at the BBC. Why are they going to Ben Nimmo at the BBC? Why are they going to him? If he works for a non-government, why do they keep going to him? Is it because they're told to? Because Ben Nimmo... It's all a fucking scam. Ben Nimmo, an Atlantic Council researcher on Russian disinformation, told the BBC that attempts to create funny memes were part of the strategy as, quote, disinformation for the information age. Sounds good, Ben. Well done. Go back to outing Finnish grandmothers as bots on Twitter, will you? Twat. Russia's move towards using humour to influence its campaigns is a relatively recent phenomenon. So, they never bothered humour before. This is serious. They've never used humour against us before. This is serious. When Vladimir Putin came to power in 2000, one of the first casualties was popular TV satirical show Kukly, which had repeatedly had a go at the new president. TV is the main source of information for most Russians, and humour was gradually replaced with apolitical or sanitised jokes that carefully avoid criticising Mr. Putin or his inner circle. So Putin has got his, control on what is said in Russia. Thank God we've got a BBC that's totally independent of our government, eh? Fuck you now. Most comedy programmes on Russian state television these days are anodyne affairs which either do not touch on political topics or direct humour at the Kremlin's perceived enemies abroad. So they only use this weaponised humour against us. Don't use it against their own president. If the president is mentioned, it's in flattering terms, while Western leaders and institutions are fair game. Take Russia's top mass appeal TV comedy show KVN. They've really gone into this article of the BBC. They're really just trying to say these bastard Russians, they're going to make us laugh to death. Last year, a skit on the G20 summit depicted Mr. Putin as an athletic, skillful practitioner of judo who ran rings around his Western counterparts who appeared ungainly and foolish. They have brought the humour inside, says author Peter Pomerantsev, who himself experienced the world of the Russian TV producer. While humour was once a threat to their Soviet predecessors, the Kremlin has now turned it to their advantage. Quote, it is not a super serious regime. They do things with a kind of smirk and sometimes just with a smile. It's a system that allows for a certain amount of humour. It's not po-faced at all. So that last paragraph in that article just debunked the whole fucking thing. If you ask people stupid questions, you get stupid answers. That's a British saying. It's interesting. While I was reading this, I actually thought about this. They say that when Vladimir Putin came to power in 2000, one of the first casualties was popular TV satirical show. I notice how they never talk about the economy in Russia, what it was like when he came to power, and what it's compared to now. I haven't got that slide, but look it up. When he came to power in 2000, the country was destitute. You know, people were killing pigeons in the town square to eat. People were starving to get to death. That was what American capitalism had basically done to the country. And when he came, it was a disaster. And now it's thriving. It's doing a hell of a lot better. What he's done since 2000 is quite honestly a miracle. Now, I'm no fan of Vladimir Putin, but I can look at people objectively and say, yes, they did good there. No, they did terrible there. And with regards to the economy, he did excellent. They never, ever tell you that in the media over here. The BBC is meant to inform and educate. So, this is some of the shit that the BBC have done over the last year. I've just took some clips from stuff that I've recorded. RAF intercepts Russian aircraft over the Black Sea. Now, I laughed at that. I remember laughing at that because look at the title, for fuck's sake. The RAF didn't intercept a Russian aircraft over Dover or over Aberdeen in the Black Sea. Where's the Black Sea? Russia! How about them laughing at this? Them laughing at the BBC taking an OPCW report which specifically said we collected some chlorine, but chlorine basically is found everywhere, so we tagged it and we'll check it. They turned that to Syria attack with chlorine gas. Total false news. I laughed my ass off at that. I was angry as well, but I laughed my ass off. Is that weaponising humour? And then there's this sorry fucking affair that they're really complaining about that started it. Or rather that propelled it. The story is this. What they're saying, the story of the Skripal affair, is this. This is the official story, from what I can tell. Sergei Skripal, who was imprisoned by Vladimir Putin up until, I think it was 2008, for being a spy, he was imprisoned for 4 years, was released on a swap deal, came over here to live in Salisbury for 10 years without doing anything, and then, for an unknown reason, that they haven't touched on so far, other than he's a spy who's anti-Russia. That's all they say in the BBC. For the reason that he was a spy and they killed him. 8 years after they released him on a spy swap deal, they killed him. Now, they didn't kill him by throwing him out the window or, doing something that the CIA did, so there's no trace that it could be Russia. No. What they did, this is the story that we're told, what they did was employ two guys who, were associated with the Ministry of Defence in Russia. They employed them to come over to the UK on normal visas, who came in full view of all the cameras, and then full view of all the cameras in Salisbury, in London, etc., when he's coming off the plane, smeared some Novichok, which was something that can be pointed directly back to Russia, on a door handle, and then caught a direct flight home to Russia. That's what they're saying these assassins are. Now, anybody with a brain in their head can look at that and fucking laugh, because it's preposterous. The CIA chuck people out the window, or the CIA start a coup. They don't send two of their agents over to kill people with, I don't know, a pole with an American flag on it. This is a preposterous thing. Absolutely preposterous. And now they're saying if you laugh at them, if you laugh at these preposterous allegations, you're weaponising humour against them. When are we going to stop this Russophobic bullshit? Russia hasn't got 20% of the UK in poverty. The British fucking did that. The British government got 20% of the people in this country in poverty. Russia hasn't fucked Brexit up, no matter how much Ben Nimmo will tell you. That's Theresa May and the Tories and David Twatty Cameron. That's who's to blame for that. We cannot keep blaming Russia for all of our problems. It's about time the governments of the West stood up and actually took responsibility for the stuff they do around the world. Honestly, if Jeremy Corbyn was made Prime Minister tomorrow and came out in his first speech, he could immediately stop terrorism in this country. Immediately. And somebody said this about America not long ago, so I'm sort of paraphrasing his words. He could come out as Prime Minister and say, I apologise for all the terrible things that United Kingdom have done around the world, both overtly and covertly, in meddling with your elections and fucking about with your democracies and basically lying and bullying you into doing what... I apologise for all of it. Under my watch, it's going to be a different set of values and a different set of things that we are going to run our country by. And I hope you will understand that and appreciate it. He would stop terrorism in this country like that. Instead, what are they doing? Blame Russia. You can't continue to blame Russia. We've got the evidence that you've done way more fucking crimes than Russia have. I'm sure Russia have done many crimes. On their own people especially. I'm more interested on what the British government are doing to the British people and other democracies around the world than I'm worried about some Bernie memes from Russia. Look at it. This is what they're saying. This is the sort of thing that they're saying. Swung the election in 2016. Just look at it. I bet you not a single one of you watching this right now has not looked at that and laughed uncontrollably. Not one of you. You have all laughed. You've all pissed yourself laughing at that. But when Putin does it, it's weaponized. Twat. I swore quite a bit. I've stopped swearing. I swore quite a bit in that. I must apologise. I must stop swearing. I think Bernie will run again, says Jamie Rowe. Me too. Me too. I would rather he didn't. I would rather he throws all his support behind Tulsi Gabbard and then runs with her as her VP. That's what I would rather. Jimmy Savile enabler, says Pan Ryan. How many kids were abused during his, 30, 40 years at the BBC while they knew what was going on? There were rumours all over the place. Do you remember John Lydon? John Lydon came out, it was 1979, in an interview at the BBC. 1979. He was saying, Jimmy Savile, we know what he does, don't we? In an interview. And they never aired it until very recently. So if John Lydon knew in 1979, you're damn sure people at the fucking BBC and the people at those at that Leeds Hospital Trust knew. But they let him get away with it. And he died not even having to see the inside of a jail cell for 1 hour. That's the BBC. Good point, Tichoma. Russia ain't invaded anyone either. Yeah, I think they invaded Afghanistan, but that was to do with America rather than Afghanistan. It's the thought police telling them what you can find funny, says Phil Bertoft. It's the BBC panicking because they've lost the fucking narrative, is what it is. It's the BBC panicking because they've lost the narrative. People, no, I've not met a single person who believes what the government are saying on this Skripal case. Not one. I have not met one of them. The only people I can find, who are saying this Skripal case is true, and the only people are the people in the BBC and the people in the Guardian and etc. etc. They're the only people. People on the street. I ask everybody I meet. I ask them about it. What do you think about the Skripal affair? The general consensus is it's bollocks, ain't it, mate? That's generally what the answer is when they come out when I ask them. David Twatty Cameron. Somebody's laughed at. In fact, I'm going to call him that from now on. David Twatty Cameron. Thomas Rittenhouse, Tulsi Bernie 2020. Yes. Tulsi as president, Bernie as a VP. I think that would be better. I really do. Pamela, media complicity is enabling all this. Yeah, it is. It's enabling all this. The media should be standing up to it. They are the fourth estate. They're meant to be the fourth estate. They're meant to be standing up to this. They're meant to be calling out the bullshit and the propaganda, not fucking spewing it. You know? What happens at The Guardian now? I shudder to think what happens at The Guardian now when they get an email from GCHQ. They must just literally just copy paste it and then slap a Guardian header at the top and a fucking beg for donations for money at the bottom, and just copy paste it verbatim. There's no point in fucking any reporters at the Guardian if that's the case. Just boot them all out and let somebody at the GCHQ run the fax machine, run the printers. I know I keep on about The Guardian, but they really do piss me off. They really do. You know, I found out how great they were with Snowden and giving Snowden an outlet, but obviously Glenn Greenwald was there at the time, and the rapid decline since then. It does tell me that massive amounts of pressure must have been put on them by the government, and even if that's the case, they should have fucking reported it, not capitulated to it. Where was I? Here I am. Alfonso Lapulti, thank you. My apologies if I just butchered your name. Thank you for your donation, mate. Jesus Zamora. I remember Bobby Zamora. Jesus. You should look up Amanda Palmer, The Art of Asking. It will help you look at things as asking, not begging for money. I don't think I'd beg, but it's just an expression. But yeah, thanks. I will do that, mate. Thank you. And thank you for your donation, Jesus. I'm not kidding. If you guys hadn't helped me, I would have quit this. If I hadn't have had the support, as much support as I have had over the last 6-8 months, I would have quit. I would have ended up having to get a full-time job, just to pay the bills. Because obviously the bills come first. Yeah, I can't do it without you, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, we'll look up Amanda Palmer. I appreciate that, mate. Let's just make sure I covered everything I wanted to cover tonight. Yeah, I did. Astro says, if we get Tulsi Bernie 2020, I'll go start voting again, but that's not what will happen. Sorry to be a neg Nancy, but the bankers would never let that happen. It can happen, Astro. Let me tell you, so there's an expression, whether you think you can or can't, either way you're right. There needs to be a massive in America. From what I can see, there needs to be a massive groundswell of work at the grassroots level. It needs to be activists. It needs to be yellow vests. And if that happens and the public support is huge, then, you know, you might get your way, and they're going to fight you all the way, the establishment and you know, the oligarchs. They're going to fight you all the way, obviously, but as long as you keep fighting, you will win. As long as you believe you will win, you will. There are more than you than there are of them. This is why they propagandize us so much. This is why they lie to us so much, because they know if they told us the truth, and we knew the truth, and everybody in the country knew the truth, we'd be fucking outraged, and we'd be on the streets, and we'd be guillotining them in the square like the French did. Possibly not going that far, obviously, but you get my point. The reason they propagandize us is because they're so scared of us. Is because they know if we get together, we will fucking overthrow them. It's like Mark Blythe says, eventually they will come for you. And the Hamptons is not a defensible position. Low-lying beaches. It's people power that are going to work. I hope I'm right too, Astro, mate. Talk about the Green Revolution. I will do tomorrow, mate. I've got a video on about the Green Revolution. It's more to do with what the government have done over here to solar energy that's been collected in households. If you haven't heard that story already, it's just doing that at the same time as, you know, causing earthquakes with fucking fracking. I'm a revolutionary now. Who's with me, says Pam Ryan. I think everybody is, Pam. She's second generation politician. What do you think she learned? A trade, says Views. She's a second generation politician, yes, but she's a second generation politician that has actually got opinions that are quite detached from her father. They're certainly involved from her father's position on things. She's certainly a lot softer than him. Tulsi's a member of the CFR, says Edward Abbey. Yeah, she is, but that doesn't automatically, you know, disqualify her just because she's on the Council of Foreign Relations. Doesn't automatically disqualify her. She might be on there trying to change it. I think, knowing Tulsi, she is. I trust her, is the truth. I think she's genuine, and there's not many politicians I can say that either side of the Atlantic. There really is not. I trust Tulsi. I trust Bernie. That's it. There are certain others that are up there and close that I think, yeah, I like them. People like Ro Khanna, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as well, although I've got an eye on her. I really want to see her be the superstar that we all think that she could be. But yeah, there's two. They're the only two I trust. And over here, Corbyn. And Chris Williamson, I would. And Chris Williamson, I'd say. Trying to think of a Tory. There's got to be a Tory I trust. I can say I trust. Don't be silly. No, there's not. Yeah, Tulsi started as a Republican conservative, just like Hillary Rodham Clinton says. Views. Yeah, you're right. She's moved. There's no doubt about that. She's not a conservative Republican anymore. First they came for the speakers of truth. That's why we have to support Gordon. Thank you for that, Teach. What's the saying? I used to have it as my header, didn't I? In a world of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. That's why I do it. I was angry. That's why I started this channel. I was angry and I was upset at not just how bad the world was becoming, the turn that the West had taken, especially with regards to this Russia nonsense, but also how they were trying to silence online voices. That's when I jumped in. It was after the demonetization in January. It was after the algorithm changes that they did and made it more difficult for people. So if anything, I started this channel at the worst possible time any YouTuber could start a YouTube channel. Because if you remember, I had to wait something like 7 months to even be monetized because of those rules changes. But it wasn't until after that, and I could see what they were doing, and I could see how they were. It was a concerted effort to silence online voices that I really did think I've got to get involved in this. Because I'd just finished writing Russiagate. I got online and boom, third video went viral. Keith Durant brings up a good point about Tulsi Gabbard. She actually went to Syria to find facts instead of listening to the propaganda, and then was immediately attacked and smeared for doing it when she got home. So you know she's on the right side of things if the establishment media in America are against her. Kenneth Clark, says Pam Ryan. Would I trust him? It's a good one, that is. It's a good one. I suppose I don't really know enough about his history. I know a little bit, and he's not too bad. I'll think of that next time I do a live stream. I'm sure I'll find one. Phil Bertoff, do you have a good heart, Gordon? Thank you, mate. Hope you managed to keep going. I will, Phil. I've managed to keep going for 10 months. It's you know, I will keep going. I promise. I fucking love doing this. I love doing it. I know I'm never going to get rich doing it, and that's fine. I feel as if I'm making a bit of a difference, even if it is just a little tiny one. Why don't you trust Chucker, says Larry Povey. I don't know whether that's directed at me, but the reason I don't trust Chucker is because he's a Blairite centrist Israel apologist. Yeah, there you go. That's why I don't trust Chucker. I wouldn't trust Chucker as far as I could throw him. I trust Rees-Mogg in that he's not duplicitous. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. Deceitful. I didn't know what duplicitous. I'd heard of it. I didn't know what it meant. Deceitful. He's not. Yeah, he is deceitful, Alfonso. Look at last week. Last week he was saying, you know, Theresa May should go to the Queen and resign now, and then yesterday he was in the House of Commons saying, I full support the Prime Minister and I full support the. Yeah, I think he is deceitful. I think I would say Rees-Mogg is deceitful. Yeah, he's definitely a career politician as well, which I just suppose they all are. Oh, loads of messages of support. Thanks, everybody. I'm not quitting. Don't think that. I'm not quitting. It's fucking hard, and it's a bind. It's possibly why I on a personal level, it's possibly why sometimes my eye gets drawn to the negative. And the reason it does is because in the back of my mind is going, you prick. Have you got any fucking idea how hard it is to do this? Have you got any idea? And that's possibly why my eye gets drawn to the negative, although I don't do that as much anymore. Often I write a response out, I look at it and then go, there you go, and then just never post it. Because I don't want to spend my time reacting to negative comments rather than, I'd rather respond to positive comments and questions. Oswhistle says Gordon/Gore and a few others from the bones form the bones of the real progressive movement. But people are like, fucking Al Gore, are you kidding me? I think you meant Door. Oh, that's a slip, that is, mate. Ken Clark, Big Tobacco, says Duncan McKeown. I'll look into that. They're all bought by somebody, aren't they, the Tories? They're all bought by somebody. I don't hate the guy. I actually, at the risk of having a load of hate come way. I actually like him. Don't get me wrong. I don't support his policies. I think he's from the Old Testament. I think he's basically Lord Snooty from the Beano, or Walter Softy, was it? If you look at the two photos, he's very similar. I don't like anything he stands for, and I abhor his policies. As a person, I like him. I think he's funny. I think he's dry. I think he's witty. He's obviously educated. There was a video, I think it was Red Pill that put it out, if I remember right. I put it on my page. By the way, guys, if you go to my website at gordondimmack.com and you go to recommended viewing, it's on YouTube as well. But what I do is I have a set. I have probably about 15 or 20 different outlets that I watch news from on YouTube, and whenever I see anything, I make sure I like it. I don't like every video. I just like ones that I think my audience might like, and maybe gives more backstory to stuff that I talk about. So I like it, and it goes into a playlist, and you can see it on YouTube. It's under the playlists on my channel page. But if you go to gordondimmack.com and go to recommended viewing, that playlist is embedded. So if you are looking for a place, that maybe if you're interested in what I do and what I report on, I generally will like other people's videos that I've seen after I've done my reports that maybe give a different perspective or more backstory on things. So I've had a few people email me on DM me on Twitter to say this is really good. Keep doing it. So I'm going to expand the site. So there's going to be more playlists. For instance, I'll put a playlist on maybe climate change, playlist on different sections. So I'll expand it at some point. But I just want somewhere for somebody to go. And I know it's not going to be huge or anything like that. But if somebody wants to go somewhere where they know they're going to get news and bypass the mainstream media, then that's what I was trying to do. Just trying to have a place where you could go and bypass, the shit from CNN. Because if you type into Google anything and click on news, it's going to bring up the main people, who are the main people who obviously lie us into wars constantly for the last 50 years. So yeah, that's why I did that on my website. Lord Snooty. He is Mark Damon. He's Lord Snooty. Walter Softy, I think his name was Lord Snooty. It might have been two different characters. Yeah, Deep Thought says, Ken Clark famously said on Question Time, socialism is officially dead in the UK. I think Jeremy Corbyn got that message, did he, Deep Thought? Yeah, he's Rees-Mogg is nasty new money aristocracy wannabe. See a lot of comments about Rees-Mogg. There was a video I was saying, wasn't I? There was a video on Red Pill on some of his comebacks, and it was about 40 minutes long. This video was, and he was so quick. You'd got Dimbleby on. He was sitting on Question Time next to Dimbleby, and they were talking about. I think it was Stansted they were talking about, or the extra runway at Heathrow. And Rees-Mogg was saying, he said, "Oh, I used to be under a flight path years and years ago when I was growing up." He said it wasn't that bad. And Dimbleby said, "Oh, was that Eton, was it?" And everybody laughed. And Rees-Mogg said, "Yes, it was Eton. Actually, I was there with your son." Thought that was an excellent comeback. There was about 40 minutes of them. It really is worth a watch. Thank you, Duncan. Merry Christmas to you as well, and a prosperous New Year to you all. Right, I'm going to get off because I've got lots of videos I need to prep for tomorrow. Yeah, and I think I've covered all the stories I wanted to cover tonight. Thank you very much, everybody, again, for your support. I really couldn't do this out there. I really am humbled. You got no idea of how seriously I take this. I do not take it lightly lightly at all. So yeah, thanks very much for everybody. Thanks very much to everybody for the support. I love you all, and I'll see you all again tomorrow. Peace out, everybody. Take care.